Let's do question 4. All right, and here we go. The gameplay in the Legend of Zelda, the gameplay in the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom incorporates various new features and abilities. Now, which one stood out to you the most, and how did they enhance your overall gameplay experience?
There are two. One ability is Ascend, is the ability to shoot upwards and kind of phase through objects above you. But that's more of a traversal mechanic. When you're using lots of flying up platforms above you, you need a way of going upward quickly. You can't go very far. You can't like shoot through the air. But if you can get onto a platform, you can snake your way up. So that was a necessity out of simple mechanics. But there are two new abilities that really kind of change the way you play. One is the connection ability I said before. You can connect two items together. If I have a bunch of square blocks, I can build a box, put an object in it, and then build a hanger, put it on a rope, and swing it down to another location. And you're like, boom, big brain moment. Yeah, I feel smart. But the other one is in canon, in the story, when the events of the beginning of the game occur, many objects are fundamentally changed, specifically weapons. In the first game, weapon fragility was a big problem because there were a whole variety of weapons, but you couldn't use them forever. They would break. Well, now almost all the weapons are fragile. Very fragile. They're rusted and busted up. But you have the ability called FIGS. So you could take a rock and a stone and a stick and go, whoop, I've got a hammer now. Or a sword and a bone, and you've got a sharpened bone sword now. You could take a whole variety of objects and fuse them with your weapon to augment them. So most of your weapons are pretty weak compared to the one in the first game. But I do happen to have a bunch of materials I can use to make them much stronger. Things like in the first game, you kill a whole just scores of enemies traveling the world. And the materials are really only useful for making elixirs, which give you temporary boons, or selling, because you can sell them for a decent price and then buy nice stuff. Well, now I can take those items and I can augment my arrows, make them fly farther, to hit harder, or sharpen and strengthen my weapons. So whether I sell them for better armor, or I use them as a resource in tough fights, I got a lot more ways to play, which again lead back to the first point I made. This is a sequel in the camp of bigger and better. Everything you could do, you can do now. But there's a whole mess of other stuff that you couldn't do, which you can do now.
Interesting.
And yeah, it works. It's clever.
Fantastic. All right, my gosh. And not to expand too much, but are there like abilities that you're yet to discover? Because I imagine you haven't.
Oh yeah, I've still got a few bits. I've got a few empty slots on my my ability wheel. If you press the L button, you bring up a wheel which you're able to select your abilities from, and I'm still got one missing. So I'm like, ooh, there's something else I haven't found yet. I did spend a good few hours 2 days ago, longer than I'd like to admit, scouring the world trying to find an old ability which I personally like, which is the ability to use a camera. You take pictures and then you can save the pictures of objects into a compendium. I'm a bit of a completionist, so yeah, fine. But it was beneficial because you could also use that in keeping with a radar system. So you're able to locate specific items once you've taken their picture. I haven't located the radar, but I have got the camera. It was in a location I never thought. I had to ask a lot of people until someone gave me a hint in the right direction, and then I had to literally go into a chasm, a crack in the earth, jump down into an underground environment where the enemies are crazy strong, and there's all kinds of weird flora and fauna. And I was like, where the hell am I? I feel like I'm in some dark dimension version of Narnia. And then I found an old ally of mine, and he was like, oh, your camera doesn't work. Let me fix it. Oh, thank you.
You know what? My God, I hate to go on a tangent because I only got like half an hour left because I got to run. But well, no, even a bit less than that. But we were talking once upon a time about JRPGs. I think in one of our
Oh
older
yeah.
interviews, and you know, the games like that. I personally love like Shenmue, and I understand some people don't for reasons that we've explained, but it's for the reason that I think you mentioned JRPGs, despite how some people may not like that moniker from Japan, they are more about the actual character that you embody. Whereas that's why I feel an issue is with the West is that they just look at things in terms of simulation, which is an RPG is a great game that you can just go
Ah.
in and run around and kill people.
I like one point. Hold your
Yeah,
thought in your head. I like the argument that one video game reviewer was making that we shouldn't refer to Western RPGs as RPGs. They should be simulations,
I believe
and
so.
JRPGs as RPGs because
RPG,
you are
yeah.
actually playing a role, an
Role.
existing role.
That's
So
what
I like that argument.
exactly. That is why I love Shenmue, and it's because people who see why I understand the argument, but and the people who make the argument, why should I finish my day of work to work in Shenmue? I'm like, because you are becoming Rio. Now, fair enough, you don't want to be him. That's one thing, but that is his life. And I was thinking,
Ah.
so I was thinking, fair enough. So as a kid, who never had a job before, even the idea of having a job was exciting. So, but maybe I was the target audience for that game in particular. So it was like, okay, and kids I played Shenmue who played Shenmue when I was in high school I mean, I didn't play together, but we who played at the same time as me, they had a similar reaction because it was like, well, one, it was like a game that was ahead of its time, but two, it was also, wow, I'm working, I'm earning. So like, I understand, I really understand the argument of Shenmue is the worst game you ever made. You literally have to work for it to earn money. Shenmue is the best game you ever played. You literally have to work to earn money. And ultimately, one way or another, it is what it is, and you have to ask yourself, do you want to you really explore this character and therefore through them explore the world, or do you want to just have a simulation experience? And nothing wrong with the simulation here, you know, put on a VR headset and have fun, but this world and the abilities of Link are fun because you are being Link. If you were to put if Link was all of a sudden a new age hipster with a tablet, the whole thing would he wouldn't feel like Zelda. But you know, the fact that you're
Yeah.
dealing with a cup was it a cask of mead or something in the Asterix and Obelix
Stein.
era?
Cask
Yeah,
would be a container. You're thinking of a Stein.
that's
But
time. Yeah.
yeah, one of the reasons I come back to Zelda games so frequently, you know, they're all. If I don't have a game on, I'm currently playing, and my back burner is like, I'm not interested in those. I'll play a Zelda game because I like the world that it inhabits, and Zelda is a innocuous enough character that I can self-embody it. But he is a person. He is still a character who has presence in this world, and I like that he has a small but notable place in the world, and I can get that role. I can role play as him, and I just had a thought. The Dreamcast was kind of a breeding ground for these Marmite games. These you either love them or you hate them games because you had Shenmue was a gaming experience the world had never grasped because you weren't playing, you were literally embodying a role as opposed to playing.
Right.
You were Ryu, and you
Yeah.
had to live that life, and that world existed without Ryu. You know, the people opened their shops and closed outside of you.
It blew my
No
mind.
one was waiting for you.
Yeah.
But it also the Dreamcast also had Seaman, which had the interactive game. It had the first Sonic, the first Sonic Adventure, which completely upheavaled Sonic and tried to introduce it to 3D. Which honestly, Sonic doesn't belong in 3D. He belongs in 2D.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely.
Debate me, bro. It's fine. That's how I feel. 2D Sonic, masterpiece. 3D, I just haven't seen it done right. It can be done. I have no doubt that it could be done, but I haven't seen it done right yet. But there were a number of games on that console that really kind of pushed the gambit of what a game could be, how you could approach the game. I think that was part of the ethos of Sega. It's one of the reasons why they became so powerful so quickly, but also it's one of the reasons why the company went under. They pushed themselves so far ahead of the curve, they weren't even playing the same game. And you've got to be in the game to win it.
That for sure. I mean, so Sony. I mean,
the modem. They didn't give that a freaking modem. An online gaming.
Yes, I tell you, man.
Other people were like, "Oh wow, you have a save cartridge? You have a save cartridge? Wow, that's impressive. Ooh, Rumble. And Sega's like, no. Let's play with the people on the planet.
Yeah, and the problem is, yeah, my God, it is. You think about it, it's true. It's really a series of mind-blowing, daring experiments, and
Oh,
yeah,
the right word. They were the balls on these guys. But it's a shame that they went under. That they ran so far ahead
mm,
that they lost the way. They lost the path.
mm,
Sega were a fantastic company, and their games are still good. They still release some pretty good stuff, but it was a different age.
yeah.
They helped keep Nintendo on their toes, pushing ahead. And when they left, Nintendo kind of slowed down.
That's very interesting. They literally gave Nintendo like a reason to. It's a bit like Piccolo to Goku, in the
Oh, good. Yeah. They had to keep pushing ahead because Sega was running so far ahead. It forced Nintendo to push technology
mm,
ahead to kind of develop new ways of doing things.
yeah,
When they ceased being a competition and it was PlayStation and then the Xbox and they're
and there's
kind of the principal rivals. Most people acknowledge, I won't say everyone, but most people acknowledge in the gaming circuit that Nintendo's kind of in their own bubble. Nintendo do Nintendo things. And it's the competition, the battle is Xbox versus PlayStation because Nintendo won their war. It
yeah.
was, but now, they release ever increasingly polished versions of their old material, but you don't see a lot of new stuff out of them.
That's a good point.
You know?
It's they're almost like Disney in that regard. Which is a funny thing as we were just going over the Mario movie versus the success of Universal versus the issues of Disney. I'd say downfall, but
Mm.
because of what for arguably political reasons. Who knows? As some people say. I mean, to be honest, I'd say yes. But that being said, when you got a back catalog of faithfully supported IPs, you're thinking, well, why not use them? But at the same time, you've got to have. I think what Nintendo has going for it that Disney doesn't is technology. I mean, what I mean by that is they're not the forerunners or in terms of pushing the next technology, but at the same time, at least when they remake something, it is with new technology. That is to say, if you produce a new Mickey Mouse movie, at the most you can do is make it CGI, and then after all, you have to
Mm.
make another CGI Mickey, and it'll be like, all right, so all right, make a new story. I mean, this is what people are hungry for. Just give us a story that we really love, and that's fine. But then Disney apparently sorry, seems according to some people at least are putting stories out there that people aren't necessarily resonating with
Mm.
with certain IPs, and it's like, okay, so what's new? Whereas Nintendo, um, they, I think they've got a
I
balance
don't
of
think it's
keeping.
Nintendo. I
There you
think
go.
it's Shigeru Miyamoto. He's long had he's long been quoted as saying that once he's done a game, it's done. It's like he wants to move forward, look ahead, and he
Uh,
likes the new technology. So if there isn't a new way of playing or a new technology that he can connect with, he's not really interested. It's one of the reasons why we haven't had that many Star Fox games. We had the first Star Fox, great. Then they polished up the graphics chips and they made Star Fox 2, which they never actually released. But then, of course, the N64 came out and they had Rumble Pack, and it was a new way of playing it. And they released arguably the definitive Star Fox,
hmm.
and it was fantastic. But then it was done, and we didn't get another Star Fox until the Wii U, when there was a new way to play. But when Shigeru Miyamoto dies, touch wood, oh God, no. But as time moves forward, as people who are excited to innovate with technology disappear, I don't know if Nintendo's going to really push the boundaries anymore. I think they're going to become a little bit more like PlayStation and Xbox and just incarnations, just to not to innovate new ways to play, but just, hey, this is going to be the standard for the next couple of years. It's just portable gaming.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
They've absolutely dominated portable. The fact that this is a portable console that can play mainstream games, boom, that's going to be their wheelhouse now. So it's just going to be better and better versions of that. But I'm concerned that Nintendo won't innovate a new way to play for a while.
This is interesting. And for that matter, I think we're going to do the interview on Zelda in two parts. I think that the next few questions considering you haven't finished the game, there's definitely more we can say later. But
Oh yeah, I would be happy to do a full review, but this is just like my initial thoughts, my initial points. I don't want to spoil anything in story wise that hasn't already been revealed. Everything that's been talked about, has been talked about by official sources. So the only spoiler was, hey, it's Ganondorf, but he's in the freaking trailer. So
yeah,
come
dude,
on.
I really appreciate you you walking us through in ways that are it's nice and kind to people who haven't played yet. But at the same time, go for it. If you when you finish it, just let it all out. I think because there'll be people
Yeah,
out there who I'll put spoiler alerts out there. Say, hey man, if it is the case, but you know, hold back. Is what I'm trying to say.
I will unzip my head, just erupt everything that's going out. The game I am excited, I'm enjoying because the mechanics work so well. But I am very, very, very excited about the lore, about the reintroduction of a classic character in this new incarnation. I gotta know more. I gotta get into the mindset. Show me this classic villain because he's been many things. He's always tends to be the villain, but sometimes he's played sympathetically. Sometimes he's played malevolently. Sometimes he's played as a very complex, interesting character. And I want that to be the case. I was really hoping that they were going to lean into the complexity of him. But no spoilers, but right from the beginning, they kind of go down the well-worn path. And that did leave a bad taste in my mouth. But it wasn't the flavor I was looking for.
I see. But dude, I mean, let me think as a wraps up. Okay. So now, okay, I guess we'll finish it here with Zelda, but I just want to expand on Nintendo for a second, what you were saying.
Sure.
Yeah, so, okay, you remember Yamauchi? The dude who's original. Well, I mean, I'm you know me, we checked out that video with Iron. I love Guru Larry's looking into the history of that, of Nintendo. Then I understand, who's I keep forgetting his name, Satoru Iwata?
Satoru Iwata, yeah.
Yeah, he preceded him, right?
Yes.
Yamauchi. Yeah, Yamauchi is a very stuck in his ways old fart, if you will. And he never played games apparently, except for Zelda, for Tetris. And he went to even bought a baseball. According to Guru Larry, bought a baseball team and never went to a single game. So he said he was clearly all business. But
yeah.
Then you got people like that who run companies, a bit like my mother would always say, people who make TVs but never watch them or so on, but then it's too bad teeth. So you have that. Then you have Satoru, who is a gamer, right? And then I think Nintendo has such. I think it's a bit like if Satoru, what's the guy's name? Hayao Miyazaki. If he perished, and then what happened to Studio Ghibli? Now he's a bit of an old fart in his own way too. He's stuck in his ways in certain things, but he definitely has the flair, the passion, the vision, the kind of ingredient that if you take it out, all of a sudden you won't have what you've got. But at the same time, you've got enough young spot. I'm pretty sure. I mean, there are people who approach him. I saw him on NHK the other day, being approached by these new upstarts or newcomers who were trying to show him work that they've done, and he was quite picky about it. I think he was quite disparaging about the work that they made, also in that they didn't resonate with the vision that he or the kind of storytelling that he's particularly into. But it's like, all power to you, but it's not. I don't rock with this. Whereas it doesn't mean that
it just means it's bad. It's not the one that he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So I personally think, just as these guys, Hayao Miyazaki, Mr. Yamauchi, these people were once someone's kids, and they looked at, and they were given given the mantle to carry on perhaps someone else's legacy. Well, I guess these people are more original.
They were young. They were influenced by the media of their time. They created new ideas and they promoted, and then they went out. They've had successes and failures. They've learned and grown and become major figures in their markets, their own industries. by innovating, by pushing the envelope, trying to do something new.
Mhm.
But you can't. No one's up forever. The kingdom long united must divide. The kingdom divided must unite. Time will inexorably move forward.
Mhm.
There's a quote from possibly the greatest incarnation of the Ninja Turtles. Change is the only constant. It's the only thing in life that is consistent, is that shit's going to change. And you may be on top now, but you will not be forever. So I think the difference between, I think these old giants, these great figures of their times, need to pivot away from the idea of being an auteur, a unique, singular creator who creates something of true genius, and move towards being teachers.
Yes,
But
that's what we do, mate. That's why we do it. I
yeah,
think,
but the important thing about being a teacher is you don't tell them what to do. You just give them the means to do it.
you're a real
good
teacher. Yeah, I'd say you are a real teacher. That's my mom would say.
Yeah.
Education is about bringing things out of you more than putting things in. Because most of all, we don't know what gifts somebody else has. If we just have everybody become robots, then we will surely die. AI will overtake in that regard. But otherwise,
they're already better.
But I gotta say, I mean, this, like I was saying before, with my students who I've been discussing the difference between facts and truth with, I say there's certain things that AI would never ever be able to do, which is just discern truth from facts. AI just looks at data and doesn't even know what is true. You have to tell it, oh, this, if you tell the AI, okay, categorize this as true, then it's like, okay, whatever, I don't care, it's all ones and zeros to me. But when it comes to us, when you present somebody with something that only our hearts can discern as true or false, based on, if I tell you something that you know to be false, but based on your own experience, and you accept it because for whatever reason I could pressure you on, or just like some people are being pressured the world right now.
Thinking more like if a trusted friend, someone who's never given you pause to or be concerned of, approached you with information that runs counter to your own experiences, you're more likely to give them a shot because there's no reason for this person to lie. They've never lied to you before, and they've always been very truthful.
Well,
there may be more to it than I thought.
No, there may those who subscribe to sorry, those who what's the word? Those who appeal to pathos would authority figures would be inclined to do so. However, there comes something. I think there comes a point, just like audience members who say, "I don't like this particular work of art. They've not done it justice to the original X, Y, and Z." If they're not, audience members rise up against a particular artist who is trying to put out their particular vision, do that, then the whole system that they've created can fall apart, because we have the ultimate ability to discern whether something, we actually are endorsing things accurate by this is the whole point of AI and all this stuff, is to try and mimic actual intelligence. When our actual intelligence says this is not up to par, that's when we say, all right, you know what, AI is good for this, but when it comes to the emotional stuff, this is what we're going to have to be the arbiters of what is actually accurate here. So
yeah, AI is conditioned and taught to discern factual reality. So they're very good at factually based objectives because these are things that we can verify. But they can't discern actual reality, because actual reality is the subtext, the context, the ethos, the ideas that swim underneath the facts. If two people are having a conversation, half of what they're saying is subliminal. It is kind of told. It's the spaces between the words. It's the music between the notes that has the more meaning. But you can't teach that through fact. You can't. It's difficult to quantify that because it's not a thing. It's not a fact. It's a feeling.
Yeah, dude, that is it. That's what I think gives us even hope as teachers, because we don't teach just data. We teach nuance. We teach this. We teach what can't be communicated with words, which is ironic. We teach.
It's important to acknowledge those things. I think when you're teaching that you should never discount these things.
Mm.
I would be wary to focus an entire lesson upon it, but you cannot ignore it.
Course. Yeah,
So
I dare say it's technology always. I think that's what you're trying to say. Is technology is always trying to imitate life or art, if you will. And it's up to us to look at the
it's cute. It's
advancements.
cute that it's cute that you have to differentiate between the two. Oh yeah, technology imitates life. I mean, art.
Yeah.
Well, at some point, yeah, we're getting close to these two being the same goddamn thing.
Yeah, and ultimately it comes down to what we put out. Essentially, this world is made up of our creation. I mean, our what we forge.
Yeah. Oh
Mm.
yeah. I get a bitter taste in my mouth when people complain about the world as it is, because everything you see was a choice.
Mm.
The where the road was placed, the material of the road you're walking on, the buildings next to the road, the color of those buildings, everything was a choice. Someone decided it would be that way. Now, whether they decided it haphazardly or they just followed someone else's decision, or whether it was just a long series of stupid choices that led to what it is now, it's all by choice. People go, "Oh, it's not natural." Buddy, I'm wearing clothes. That ain't natural. I'm eating out of a can. I'm drinking out of a can. I'm eating processed food. That ain't natural.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm having a conversation with you in a different room in a different part of of the city. We are living in a different country. That ain't natural.
Right.
None of this is natural.
Mm.
So if people could say, "Oh, there's nothing we can do," everything you do is a choice. Everything you do, the food you eat, the things you watch, the places you go, the job you do, the understandings you have, that was someone's choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get pissy at people who are like, it's out of my hands.
Dude,
you.
exactly right. I tell you, and I think to wrap it on the head, I think as a professor would say, bring it back to what you're saying about the only constant is change. You have different. I think there's a man called Professor Steve Turley. You made this point. He said there are different civilizations. I think that if you deal with, I think apparently civilizations that are in the center of a land of land, they tend to be more traditionalistic, more immovable. Whereas people who live by the coast, they're near the ocean, which is literally a nautical entity, something that is just floating and changing constantly. They are more susceptible to changing cultures, which I think that is a way that some professors are discerning between what places, even in America, are liberal versus which are more conservative and so on.
I think I read something similar, but it was more that locations that were hubs had sources of commerce had to be more flexible because they were exposed to more cultures. So historically, think places like cultures that were on the Silk Road evolved technologically, linguistically, historically much faster, which allowed them to embody greater ideas and develop different concepts. But countries that were off the beaten track, so to say, they were more immutable because their day-to-day lives were pretty much rigid. So the stability was something that they relied upon. When change occurred, it tended to be detrimental. Whereas places that, had, caravans of people coming through with new spices, new materials, they relied on that exchange. But went by, all exchange came through commerce by boats, by travel.
Yes.
So, coastal territories or islands were far more adaptable because they needed to be. They needed to be able to converse and trade with other people. Britain was for all of its, it's rah rah our history. We're Britain. We're Great Britain. We're a fairly adaptable people. Our language, our culture has been hodgepodge together by a whole mess of other influences because it's had to be.
For sure, it's an island. Yeah, I mean,
exactly. We're an island. We've been invaded. We've invaded. We've been part of alliances and enemies. So we are greatly influenced by the countries around us. But somewhere like Switzerland, they take a great pride in telling everyone to go.
Yeah,
themselves.
exactly. That's it. And those places that are quite central to a nation, they have these traditions, values that although they understand that change will happen, they are
ideologically.
they will be the ones who who will stay stuck in their ways. It's a bit, again, not to go down the political route, but yeah, it's
Well, it's a matter of stability.
Yeah.
For them, it's beneficial to stay the course because what's working works, and what's happening is keeping them safe and functioning.
Exactly. It's about survival, like
But
where you are, what you need to do. If you need to trade here, then we need to get the technology ready so we can trade. If we need to stay here and make sure we keep the land secure so that we have something that can be traded, we'll just focus on that. Exactly. I think you're right. So it's all relative in that regard. Of course, I mean, for goodness sake. Yeah. But sorry, not to jump in through it, just because I got to wrap up in about a few minutes. And this will be part one. Everyone will do a part two coming up soon. And yeah, speaking of AI, this last thing I'd say is, I think the same Dr. Steve Tully, he said, like, even people who we understand that we're in technology and games, people who feel that consciousness can be mechanized. It can't. I don't think that's possible either. You cannot. Just the same way, like you said, there's certain things that you can't. Even though I understand the way that if it comes to the movie The Matrix, for instance, you can say, all right, if you can get people to believe in a dream, at least you can get them to make their own realities and believe in certain things. But at the same time, you still cannot accurately represent, like you said, the mysteries of what real life, the intangibles, the aspects of ourselves.
Having someone, The Matrix is a bad analogy because it's people's brains that are creating the Matrix. They create a world, and then the people's brains live in it, and they sustain that illusion. They create the reality around them. I think the big difference between mechanized thinking is, while mechanization is a great way of doing something quickly, more efficiently, minds change.
Yeah. Thank you. I think no, you understand exactly what I'm saying. To think that all that the mind is what you've experienced of it thus far is exactly where it falls apart, because we wouldn't have conceived of AI a while ages ago. Who knows what we'll conceive of later on once we're exposed more regularly. Personally, I think AI has been created not just to make the most of this world, but I think it is maybe for space, or to look at. I mean, because if you're to take a spaceship to another place, maybe you need to work a ton of processes to calculate.
Hey, it's that funny joke from Red Dwarf when they were traveling at near light speed. They acknowledged the reality that if you're traveling at light speed, by the time you register there is a threat, it's already behind you. Right. So you would need a computational abilities just staggeringly powerful to be able to process information and react fast enough to avoid, debris through space. But that's doing one job really, really, really well. And with human beings, when you're born, when you're children, teenagers, you have all these influences and experiences that change your mind. Even life experiences change it. Young people tend to be more liberally minded, more left wing, because they're more socially minded, because they're social creatures. But as you get older and you stop working, save money, you build a house, you want to protect those things, and so you turn more conservative. It's a natural part of life. It's just a perfectly normal thing that happens. But it does mean that who you are as a person is different throughout your life. You are a constantly evolving, changing person. And technology doesn't do that. Technology does the one thing. If you tell it this is correct and this is not, well, to a person, that might be different in a few years. But to a machine, it ain't. It's just that's the program it's going to work from. So I like the idea of AI, but I don't like general intelligence is too far ahead of us. We can't do that yet. But I like the idea of limited intelligence, of specific intelligence. That's just making machines work smarter, more efficiently. For sure. And that's great.
It makes writing emails a walk in the park, thank goodness.
It's fun, and it's I'm not concerned about it, because we're not going to get Skynet anytime soon. It's just too far ahead. That is lateral thinking that most humans can't do. So I don't believe any machine's going to do it.
Dude, this is such a fantastic inspirational speech. Okay, everything we said, I'm going to try and isolate into separate episodes, because we went off Zelda.
Good luck.
Oh boy, yes, thank you for the luck. Who knows? Maybe I'll just have to say Zelda and philosophy, or just. But dude, whenever it happens, it may be another week before I catch you again. But go deeper into the game, and maybe we'll tackle the next questions in that way, and then hopefully I'll have more time. But I am limited today. But this has been a blast.
Cool. Well, good luck with that. I hope everything goes out all right. You could call it Tears of a Kingdom discussion part 1, or Tears of an Editor.
Yes, that's funny. That's funny. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see you later, man. Oh.
Yeah, we were trying to edit this, but just no.
No. God damn. Yes. Tears of an editor. Yep, I'm calling it that. Thanks, mate. Oh my God. Have a good day.
You too, buddy.
Peace.
Talk
Bye.
soon.